Penny didn't get it.
6 o'clock, I'm gonna call the meeting to order. City of Anamosa City Council agenda, budget work session Wednesday, January 19th, 2022, 6 PM. Anamosa Library and Learning Center. 1.0 roll call.
Here.
Here,
Here.
Just barely.
5 council members present. 2.0 budget work session. 2.1 review of revenue budget.
blame it on the cold.
It's not the most exciting.
Well, I know.
I mean, it is to me.
I know.
Okay. Since I have the numbers run, as far as property tax. The only thing we'll have is, I don't think I have anything like up there. We have a couple of things to decide on. So this is budget, on the 14th, we'll do the outside.
Okay, since I can't remember what are GO revenue.
So that's just general obligation.
Oh, okay, thank you. Sometimes I don't think accounting.
I did finally pay for this for the grants, and that, so I'll have that for the next one. So I will change that from one proceeds to.
What page are you on?
Oh, I see.
So, yeah, it's all in all. We have the ARP budget, so we got half of it this year, and then we get half of it next year. We will probably have a shortfall because that project is 9%. Which I didn't include the overall, but it's probably possibly a shortfall for the overall sales tax. For infrastructure. And then that later, of course, in the next budget, finish the project off.
Anticipate that shortfall to be more than 100,000, 180.
So yeah, it's down there lower. in the-
Oh, I didn't read down far.
What figure is that again, the 180? What's the 180
So the difference between the amount of project. So the
on
project
Boost Street?
So it goes forward, Booth, and first, so it's that horseshoe. And we'll replace all the water main, and we'll have the lead service lines. We'll be getting rid of the lead service lines. And the water and storm sewer upgrades while we're in the winter.
What kind of progress we're making on those lead lines?
This will be our first one.
That's our first one.
So depending on where federal funding comes.
Mhm.
We'll have to find out where it comes in, where it gets down to our level.
Okay.
I know some of it's restricted to water and sewer.
On page T10, the two items, will those get pulled over to fiscal year 23, the 64 TIF in whatever's next to it. 64 and another ridge. Will there be a number? Do we pull anything for that? Page T10, about 1, 2, 3, 4, about 6 lines down.
What page you want, Jeff?
T10 it says.
T10.
No, we're paying that bond off.
Hmm.
So we're
That
all
was
the
part-
zeros are,
okay.
that's finished.
Okay.
That was street. The last thing will be- And that's for the downtown south. It will transfer up, so I have it as debt service to pay it, but Tiff needs to pay that service back, so that's why it's about 46,000.
That downtown facade, the city had a commitment of 250,000, I believe. Projecting that out over time, when would the city get back to zero?
So the entire, so it's a general obligation bond that included the fire, the police, downtown. Engineering costs up front. So it's all together, however, the 100,000 and the 250 will drop off 7 years. So the remainder, so if we're going to get the next facade grant, we won't borrow that, we will, it will be included in the TIF tax. And annual appropriation. So we will pre-collect that money to offset the expense of the tax grant.
So they were separate and then we took and pooled them all together?
We did one bond.
One, okay.
It's segregated, accounting wise, it's segregated, so. Most of it's under just regular debt service, so the. Under the expenditures, debt service breaks out how it's paid.
Which page would that be?
What page is that? Oh, my goodness. This is just awesome.
M isn't Mary, M or N?
And as in,
M.
So that's the veteran certified. So that's really the one we're paying on now. The fire truck is keeping it to, after this 2023.
So remind me, what, 135, 1.75 in fiscal year is 135. What's the 135? Oh, this is debt service. This is not. I was thinking it was balance broke up. This is cash flow for debt service. Okay.
So this is the expenditures. Part of it will come from. It's got the 232. That's the.
tell me your page. What's it?
Okay,
Hey. I just think ought to know that one, wouldn't you?
Does that mean that all of that security
Oh, I see.
system proposed quote is in this? Oh, I thought you just said it was in there.
It just wouldn't be connected to the others until, oh, it will be.
It won't be connected until after everything.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, okay. It still gives you good information if you need it.
So with those two pulled out, what would be the total in this?
Well, the
I put them in each individual part.
well, the invoice that you sent was like 182,000.
Hmm.
Right, so you'll pull out the library. And then the rest of it. Give them the building service.
So you're still probably talking 150,000 if you hold up the library and the pool. What fiscal year will the rebate for Blue Track and Metal Design kick in?
They'll have to have it submitted by
Next fiscal year?
Anything else? If we kind of jumped 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, we just kind of combined them as we just had our discussions. We can leave it as that conversation or line item each one if you prefer. Yeah, they are.
They're kind of tied together, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, if I'm looking at this right, the very last page, you have the recap, so that the revenue is, call it 16, just under 16 million, and with the expenditures is 18 point, yeah. So, but our expenditures are exceeding our income by about 2.6 million.
So some of that is the wastewater project. That one, that one is, yeah, wastewater.
So that portion is
Right.
about
So this is kind
half.
of where you look at cash balance and that kind of has the expenses. Saying we received the cash, so for example, our insurance claim, we received some of that money. We may have more money coming in to expend for that. We will have some reimbursements for it.
How about road use, the 700,000 revenue and the 1.16 million expenses that factor in like it doesn't include that Old Duke Road, doesn't it? That's just
That's in the capital projects. So last year, I did remove. We only pay it once unless we want to change another truck now. We may get it. Still haven't got the truck we ordered last year. And we do have two that need to be replaced. So I have looked into it, it is in their place. I realized that later, when we were talking about it. So $135,000, that's that. The rest is Division Street project. Yeah. There's
Sycamore Division.
Sycamore's under local option sales tax. It's the part of the lift station project that's going to be. So while we're tearing out the street needs to be raised at that one intersection, so that it isn't expensive, there's also some response to included. So some of that is part of that project. We do have a full amount in the 2022 budget, but we want to show it by the end of July. So some of that is.
Is there anything in the move to 2.2 review of the levy? Is there anything in there that you wanted to point out about?
For the businesses that will be our election, we will be able to move our levy up down. It's still over our. So last year we were at 14.27. This year, with everything plugged in, we'll be at 13.90. We have the most significant increase is in our insurance. I don't have the part of it yet, but, we did have our insurance.
So we're currently 14.22. So we could be 12.88 and 13.93.
The 1288 is if you base everything off the last year's budget, which doesn't hit our 810 budget. So you have to put the 810 money in. So in order to hit the 810, you have to have the other levy amounts matched. So if you look on the front page of that, breaks down.
I know it's kind of hard to gauge, but have we pretty much taken into consideration the inflation rate and what we might run into?
As best we could. I mean, Water and sewer, the pool will have about 40% increase in costs for the next year. Hopefully, 40%. Other than that, meter prices and things like that, don't seem to be that. Pretty close to it. So, in last year, I got to this level. The total revenue last year was 1556.
How did our legal expenses go in 29? How'd they like double since 2019? Look at, oh, going back to 2019 though. We had 20,000 there, and then in 2020 we had 56. Yeah.
What page is that?
What page are you on, Jeff?
Four.
You thought page 4?
Or did I say M4? Did I not say M4? Sorry. M4. Well, on top of the ROG6.
Well, if I had to guess, part of that's probably due to the fact of the change of city attorneys.
Yeah.
Is that when that happened?
You would have had to bring it.
So do the Rotarians do the fireworks insurance?
They submitted, they submitted a request for this budget,
They don't submit a request.
or they don't?
They just give us the They just pay us back for the insurance. The insurance is on our policy. They just reimburse us.
I thought the city kicked in on fireworks. We do not.
We've done donations before.
We did it once
Did we?
because they didn't have the money from the prior year of fundraising, so we did it one time.
And they are going to come and approach us
I think that's
for a
something
donation
to keep
for
it-
this
yeah,
summer.
to keep it going. I think they're getting more expensive, and it sounds like most cities pay for most of it. So I mean, keep it going. We should look at help them out so we can keep that going.
The amount mentioned to me was 3,000.
How much?
Rich, do you think that was when we assisted? That
Last
would've been-
year?
That would have been COVID year. No, that would have been
Well, last year would have been,
full year before.
well, right, they
Twenty
didn't,
twenty, they did not.
no,
But they had them last year.
right.
But it was still kind of COVID, so they weren't gonna do their same fundraising.
And they couldn't do, yeah, they couldn't do like concessions, they didn't do concessions or stuff like that.
Right.
Help them out where we can, because I've heard the people out there that know how to fire them off is getting to be a slim group too. Okay.
The pyro they've had in the past is from the area. Was the outside agencies the only outstanding in a sense from this? So I know there's gonna be some, obviously, we have to wait and see how all that comes in. As it sits right now, are we looking at a balanced budget?
Yeah, we're, as far as. You know, what we have to do. We were close last year. That's even with the event. Some of my words put out the cost of the architect. I suppose the cost of it. None of our cash balances were too dangerous, in my opinion. Village's taxes still in good shape.
Are we required to have a certain amount in reserves for funding or
There isn't a requirement.
there is not?
No, but we currently have like 450,000 in reserve for road use. Water and wastewater, so the F and M bank report, so that's where our reserve funds are. Parks and Rec has some. Water, probably the only one that doesn't have that. They're pretty tight. Water's tight. Nice to have. Some of that, one really more conservative. but that's a nice- Under $800,000 as a cash, overall cash balance. Wastewater is good. Yeah, we have.
To your knowledge, there's not a certain percent of like water, wastewater that's booked in reserves for, I don't know, the ability to bond or to borrow money to receive federal or state funding. I don't know why I was thinking that there's a certain percentage that we were supposed to have.
So with water, so we just did our SRF and for the well. I just have to look at what our actual cash balances.
Okay.
and that we have the ability to pay it with credit. I did not get the recommendation that was to look at rates again. So, everything else I did.
But what you might be thinking of, Rod, is some of that does lead into our bond rating.
That might be what I was thinking.
If we don't have, some reserves or so forth, the bond rating may go down. Which then if we needed to bond, we may end up at a higher rate. And I was thinking at one time, we were told that for road use tax, if some of it wasn't used within a certain amount of time, there's the possibility of losing it.
Which is why our reserves, that is that
Right.
max. It does not earn interest.
Okay.
But yeah, that's why when we have that, the road use is actually spending, make sure what we're saving in, it's not that much. That concern. It shouldn't.
But you said the Old Dubuque Road extension is not in here, that allocation of the road use.
No, it'll be under.
Okay.
It's under its own capital project. So you can transfer road use funds to cover part of that, which we will probably have to. Depending on when it's coming.
I was thinking Lindsay had said that there was $1 million available in road use, or 750. Or we should refer to as road use money.
We'll be short. So if the project between our grants and the amount of the project will be short, but we should be able to cover that. With
Okay.
funds. We should have adequate budget to cover that amount.
To get us through phase. Then the scrambles on for future phases.
Maybe. Just depends. Depends on, the direction it goes. If the developer wants to participate in the road construction, then we'll do a really tip agreement for that, similar to that.
What that was at what, 7 years? Meadow Ridge?
No, Meadow Ridge is 10, but it's 3 phases. So, actually, I was talking to Bryce today, when we kind of think that it'll probably be to its max. Yeah, probably 12, 13 years.
The new potential subdivision or Mount Ridge? The new potential.
Meadow Ridge. we're talking about that. The new ones have got more moving parts. It's a little larger. It will encompass where the roundabout's going and to add more over the.
So these last additions to Meadow Ridge, how many years are we in the TIF agreement? One? Well,
They didn't certify
After-
anything this year or this fiscal year. They'll certify in October for phase 1 of that, or whatever properties they want to include in phase 1. So that we'll start paying that out in 2024. And then it'll proceed for 10 years after that.
that's the sunset date.
Yep.
And that encompasses everything out there, just the new parts, the 10-year, the sunsetting.
Six, Meadow Ridge, 9, 10, and
And the new, okay, just the new part. So
other
the old part's
done.
already, it's been over 10 years, so it's done.
I'd like to think he'd have that completed in 5.
Well, the tip runs for longer.
Yeah, I'm just,
Yeah,
his completion and everything.
the development agreement is set so that it can be done in phases. So next year, let's say there's 10 properties done. So we'll certify that, they'll start the rebate on that section. Then in a year or 2, 3, whenever another group of properties are ready to hit the tax rules, then we start phase 2. That can go for 10 years as well. And there's 3 phases included in that development.
So they'll overlap.
Did the first one overlap too, or was that just one chunk? Did they chunk out 8 too, like this section, and then, or was that all done together? For the-
That one is not quite the same kind of thing. So it wasn't that type of development.
Anything additional for 2.1, 2.2, or 2.3?
Well done, Beth.
Like Beth says,
This
they
is
all
only a
are
little
intertwined
part.
with one another.
I
so-
know, but still, it's so nice to be able to reference the pages and talk about the same page and the same numbers on that page. And
I noticed somewhere there was nothing in there for sidewalk repairs or anything.
Under,
Uh, I seen it earlier. It was just blank. Didn't have anything. We looking at doing anything with any of these?
Would be under the expenditure side.
Yeah. I'm trying to find it right now. Yeah.
That's been under street department. Brooke.
Yeah, I think it
That's what I
was.
Well, are you talking about I3? There's a sidewalk reimbursement program listed there that has nothing.
Yeah, that's what I saw.
It was, at one time, there was some sort of a share with the city, if you partner with the property owners to.
there was a special section. So that was done in the-
We didn't have it.
We don't have anything set up to do a special assessment. for
How about
sidewalks.
as far as just funding, like if some sort of a split where if it was a bad chunk of town, like if it was advantageous with the property owner, would just kick in agreement to get them kicking so much and is that what you're?
Well, some of my neighbors have came to me since I've been elected on here. And they have to walk in the street because the sidewalk is so bad that they are telling me it's unsafe. Well, obviously with the snow, it's worse. And now they're walking in the street, so
That would come under abatement, like nuisance abatement.
Because-
Okay.
Well, the sidewalk would be the homeowner's responsibility.
okay, but this has been like this for
Yeah,
forever.
but that's where, like Beth's saying, abatement, because then we can go to the homeowner and tell them they need to fix their sidewalk.
Yeah, they're given a time period, so.
Yeah, it's a good one, but I don't know if we could go, instead of like the stick method, do more like the care method, we do the cleanup day, for people to bring more of the, I don't know, the cooperative approach as opposed to you'll fix your sidewalk or we'll fix it and fine you for it.
I would think that wouldn't that qualify for that grant that
One
we just did for what, 5 houses this year? Or not?
The sidewalk.
The sidewalk won't?
Yeah, it's only for the house itself.
Well, could we, I mean, incorporate ourselves, I mean, not outside funding, but if we were to take even a small chunk and have like an application process and do, I don't know. Target the worst kind of sidewalks in town, there's
So
significant
where
areas.
you're gonna run into problems with that is that there's a lot of people that replace their sidewalk on their own. And we didn't offer them anything because it's generally the adjacent property owner's responsibility to maintain the sidewalk. I mean, when we go through the nuisance process, if we have to replace the sidewalk, it gets charged to their property taxes.
Well, okay, I understand what you're saying there. That's basically the homeowner, and it's that way everywhere. The homeowner owns the sidewalk.
Is responsible.
Yes.
Rich,
When do we start enforcing the nuisance property? Because obviously this has been this way for years and years and
Where's
years.
this at?
Garnabillo Street, all the way down, basically to Security
Is
Bank.
that the one that has, no, that's a different street. There's another street that's got some tall
Rich and Kate, do you
arborvitae's, it looks
remember
like,
in the past.
and the sidewalk is leaning like this.
With the sidewalk.
I've taken a walk down that street.
I
Do you know
can't
what's that, Jeff?
I guess my question is, I didn't know if we had a program to fix some of this stuff. How does it work on like Main Street and just, you know, where the businesses are? How's that work?
Again, it's their,
It's theirs?
right.
Okay,
I mean, a portion of that's going to be considered part of the curb and gutter. So I mean, some things, like we put in the ramp for the handicap, so we took out those squares when we did that. So we would replace it.
gotcha.
But otherwise, the sidewalks, the responsibility of the adjacent property owner. Granted, you know, we can do the special assessment, but they're still gonna pay for it eventually.
Well, it needs,
Nuisance enforcement. Again, I don't, a lot of times people think things have been reported or that we know about them, and a lot of times we don't. So, I mean, if there's a list of sidewalks that you know, that you know of,
What kind of those, like on like Ford Street, those used to be some of the worst in town, and that was already done, like all together. Like probably 10 years ago or something.
yeah,
part of
it's,
street
it's,
things.
Maybe we did that road, but
I
it's
mean,
pretty
sometimes it happens with an adjacent property.
Well,
project.
and if there's maybe say 3 houses consecutive,
there's
they
about 8
Well,
consecutive.
but if they got together and did it all at one time, it might be a cost benefit to them to work together on getting the project done.
I understand. I originally asked the question because I thought maybe there was money for some of that, because how some people don't have money to fix that, I understand. You know, so that's why I originally asked the question. But as far as, I guess, where we kind of went with it, who's taking care of that? Like making sure that like you're not parked across the sidewalk every day and the sidewalk is broken up and that stuff.
So generally, like the police department, especially if it's becoming a hazard for enforcement. We're working on getting our code enforcement, or our community service officer,
Okay,
that will be their focus. I mean, right now, it's just someone needs to call it in and let somebody know about it. Then we'll need to go through the process of sending the letters, which we did. We did in several missing sidewalk areas, alley, meadow.
okay.
That was our last place we worked on it, because there was just pieces missing.
That was all part of that development agreement where we could put a little bit of teeth into that, wasn't it?
For the most part,
That's what I thought.
I mean, it was more, a lot of the property was with the sidewalks. So, some of them. And care center.
All right. Well, that kind of, I just seen there was nothing there, so I was curious about that.
is it, I don't know, it'd be a question for like that program we're doing, the Easy Cog, if there's anything out there where they could do that like just a sidewalk program to them, you know, if there's anything like that. Be a
Generally, no, the only sidewalk program that I've ever dealt with is Safe Routes to School. And that's very specific, it has to be on school route.
Does that mean construction, or if it's on a school route and they're broken up to repair it as well?
Generally, it involves making sure that the corners are handicap accessible. They replace some parts, but
Well,
And that
you
goes
say,
not really.
when you say safe route to school, I mean, that takes in could be encompassing a really large
Where
area.
All,
that
all
starts
roads,
now.
all roads lead to the school, depending on where you live.
Because
It's regulated by the DOT, so they have pretty specific.
Because-
criteria.
that street would lead to a school bus stop.
Everybody has to go to the old middle school to get on the bus,
Yeah,
which means they have to walk down those sidewalks, or supposed to walk down the sidewalks rather than the street. But they all
Or-
walk in the street now.
or you could throw it all the way to the Catholic school. It'd be a straight shot.
They come in and do a survey and they decide what route the school is, and I don't know that it includes bus routes.
That'd be a nice chunk to do.
Well, might be worth an ask.
They won't, I don't believe it covers replacement. It's more or less changing the corners to make sure they're handicap accessible. Or if there's, I'd have to call, I'd have to
Okay.
call and check on it. I don't even know if they're still funding it. It's been a
Even
while.
if there's not funding, is it something we could like incorporate in our own, is there anything saying we couldn't do something? Like in phases, if we wanted to? I don't know how it works.
You
You're
can do
looking maybe
anything
to
as
be the
long as
point
there's
guard
money.
on it.
As far as for private property, probably not. But like the sidewalk that would go on public property, say from the trail past the fire station or under Highway 151,
Sidewalk
That's
past the
true.
swimming pool.
correct.
I think that's something you'd explore too, that out from like the fire station to like the hospital, Palm Creek, I think that would be a good place to get trail to. There's a lot of people that walk along the shoulder there.
We've had conversations about it. But we
Yeah.
established,
Yeah.
Again, priority, what you take out. what you do.
Didn't that come under road use? Something like that along the road?
Not a sidewalk.
Well, Kay, do you have anything else?
I don't.
Rich,
I think I'm good for now.
Brooke,
I'm all right. Good.
Jeff? Alan?
I haven't had a shower and I haven't eaten yet, so I'm done.
Well, I haven't heard your stomach talking to us, so I don't either. Just, I'm glad it's a balanced budget. I guess, though, could you elaborate where you said on the levy column that was 12 point something, 12.8 versus the column of 13.9? Could you just elaborate on why it has to bump up? You said something about it, I don't know, 8, 10 or,
Right. Not allowed to ask for any other money. Can't pay your insurance. Or other things. So there's certain levies that do it on the front side of that page. The ones that are actual amounts necessary, or FICA and IFRS, and other employee benefits. So those are the ones you can.
So what's the 810? What is that? I don't know what that is.
So that's the maximum tax levy you can get on property tax. For general fund.
Oh, I see up there for the general. I wasn't thinking dollars and cents. I was thinking like terminal, like
Oh, no,
local option sales
dollars
tax
and
is
cents
60,
tax, yeah.
65, 30. I was thinking it was not that. So I get you.
Well, that changes a lot, don't it?
I thought it was just like a loose term as opposed to like a figure. So I see it.
So the middle column is if you just take your valuations and use exactly the same numbers you had last year. That's where you get the 1280. Stay at exactly the same funding level. Which you will be reducing your, you're reducing everything.
Still haven't had a shower and I'm still hungry.
Rich, I know last year, or shouldn't say we, there was a struggle and you proposed the levy to be set at where it was.
The previous year.
Yeah, that was equal to the previous year, or was there a slight increase?
Was that last year or 2 years ago?
I
I
think
was
it was
thinking-
I think that was 2 years
Two?
ago. Last
2
year,
years ago.
last year, I think we raised it a
Last
little
year
bit.
we raised it.
Slightly
Yeah,
Yeah.
slight,
from the previous. Yeah.
right.
Right.
So even at the 13.9 is less than that previous year where,
Yes,
It's less than-
that's what I thought
Yeah,
for the last few years, we've been in the 14.
correct.
we've been in the 14 for
Several
4
years.
Okay,
We've been at about, so the year you're talking about, we were at 14. 14.
what page are you on, Beth?
No, I've got
Oh, you
all-
just, you're looking at a different sheet, okay.
But yeah, so last year, the previous year certified was, which was in 2021, the tax rate was 14.019. In order for us to maintain that same dollar, last year, we had to move to 14.227. So we maintained the same dollar, but our levy increased to maintain the same dollar. So this year actually we're below both of those. And we're still,
So going from the 1409 to the 1422, that same scenario would be. That'd be the same scenario as going from 1422 to the 1288, right?
no,
No? I thought the 1409. and The 1420, you said the 1409 and 1422 gave you the same dollars, same total dollars for revenue.
we would be at, so with the increased amount, so last year we didn't have an increase in our tax value. So the same dollar was the same dollar. it was talking. This would mean you would be lowering you would be getting the same tax dollar amount, correct?
1422, based on those valuations of 1422
Yep.
and the current tax valuations of the 1280, that'd get you the same money as what
That's
was
last year.
last year.
Means you're gonna have to cut some things. in order to Function on that dollar. And you're not gonna get the 810.
But we need to hit the 810, right?
You have to hit the
We have to.
Or you're gonna eliminate all of the other things.
Plus, we went through the budget and made cuts.
And how do we come up with the 810? How's that calculated?
It's calculated on the tax rate on the front.
Okay.
The 810 It's calculated based on what I get from the county.
Go down a little bit, but people's taxes will go up because the assessments went up a bunch, so they're starting to kick in. It's tough because our taxes for animals are pretty steep for a town our size. I mean, we're almost teetering with like Lynn County taxes. Yeah, it's hard.
Well, we are borrowing it in.
Well, hopefully with the expansion that we're starting and getting more people in here, housing and businesses, it'll kind of offset because what we're paying for are like the library and the swimming pool and all these amenities that everybody wants. And being a small town, we're spending more and taxes is, we need to pay for it somehow. And hopefully it'll level itself off as the town expands because we still need a swimming pool, but we still need a library, still need the community center and things like that.
It just depends on, so when you do a typically, you are postponing receiving those tax rates.
Yeah, I know.
You are not able to use those tax rates.
It's gonna take some
It's a good
time.
answer, but it's the big picture long term. It's in the interim before go up after your 10 years, whatever, you have more tax. bills.
So we in a
But you-
sense are carrying the
But you have
load.
10 years,
We in a
that's-
sense are carrying the load for everybody.
You've got a lot of infrastructure you've got to put in that
10 years.
to pay for within that 10-year time
Yeah.
frame to, before you can start recouping.
Like on some of the subdivisions that are a little past that 10 years, like Meadow Ridge 8 or Adco, those are, we're fully getting the benefit of those tax dollars now, since they've been over about 10 years, right? Anything, yeah.
But as for right now, we have pretty much have development.
Everything newer than those developments.
All the commercial properties, all of the new houses.
Mhm. It's the nature of the beast.
And if you're gonna be borrowing, you need to make sure you're taking that into account. Because that is a direct one. You do not have control over that unless you're not going to borrow money.
Talked about this in previous meeting, like on the bond, is it 50 cents or something per thousand? Is that's not included in the 1393, that like
That
for
is
the,
not. That service goes directly to the taxpayer. There is no negotiation. You can borrow the money, you are passing it directly to the taxpayer.
so it's not even included in our 13, that goes on the count, that's on the county's
It's
side.
included on your page 1. Where if you look at the bottom, it gives you the actual total tax rate. We've gone from 1556 to 1469. With our retirement of our debt. And we're lowering at the regular level.
Well, Beth, you've had more hands-on this than obviously anybody else. It's a question I'm probably gonna put you on the spot. Don't need to, but I just want to ask. Is there any cuts in here that, I don't want to say you would favor, but could happen? Is there any, I don't want to say excessive, but something that we could do without it this time?
we still trying to.
Well, honestly, if you wanted to say anything, you could say you could eliminate the security system if that's where you wanted to go, but I feel that that's probably getting to be more and more of a necessity. That I really wouldn't want to cut it at this point in time.
At roughly 150,000, where it's sitting now without the pool in the library.
And one issue could cost you 10 times that, even maybe more than 10 times that.
I mean, the only other thing I could think of you could look at is some of the equipment that maybe these guys want. We could take a harder look at that. Maybe pass it out over 2 years as opposed to 1 year.
What are the significant equipment purchases?
Where are my notes from the
Well,
last meeting?
Skid loader.
Skid loader.
Skid loader,
lawnmowers,
lawnmowers,
Crane truck.
Boom truck, yeah.
trailer.
But we have to look at reduce equipment, reduce the efficiency of the departments too. I mean,
Well,
there's no free lunch.
I know that, and the thing is like with the lawnmowers, if the lawnmowers that they have now are in such bad shape that they're constantly being fixed, is that better than having lawnmowers that are working and they can be out in the fields mowing and working? So you've got to balance the portion of also what makes them work more efficiently.
We also have issues with parts and things like that, where if we have something now, it may be back for a while.
And well, that skid loader that Streets has, if that thing's laid up half the time and we're having to rent one to replace it, that's not making a lot of sense either. Still not.
What does it need?
EGR valve,
Uh,
you can't get one, and not one in the state. And they're not being made, so it's sitting in the corner, because before we get it down to another building, it's overheating.
I got a directional boring company in Minnesota and Wisconsin that runs some Volvo equipment. They may have one on the shelf if I knew what model it was. They have a room this big full of brand new parts.
Just,
See it. Okay. I'll make a phone call and see if maybe they have one on hand. What year is that?
19,
Okay. I'll check with them. No guarantees.
well, they told me they called all over the United States to get it.
Okay.
The mowers, were there 3 of them you were looking to replace? Is that something you could replace one across the next 3 years?
Not technically,
I know that's,
we have an 11 that's gonna go, and we have a 14 that's gonna go.
I know that's kind of splitting hairs now to, it's not a real high expenditure, but
That
still trying to be.
John Deere is gonna have catastrophic failure, just like hers did. And she's got over, without our time and labor, she's got over 1,600 parts. Without our time.
And I understand, it's 3 separate departments. That's one pocket at the end of the day.
It's not. Water and sewer are their own pocket, we don't touch their pocket, and so is road use. So if they're not commingled, there's no, if their budget is their budget, and their cash is their cash. So yeah, so no, it's not necessarily a general fund thing that's going to hit this, because water and sewer isn't in our tax levy. Based on service, and so is road.
So what you're saying is what, and talking like what Rod was talking about, is that we would have to be looking into some of the projects that we're doing rather than.
If we're to limit any of those departments expenditures, it's not gonna trickle down and lower the levy rate.
The boom truck, with the boom truck, water sewer.
Well, some of streets would projects, some of streets projects would affect the general.
So most of the street projects are both for.
The street projects, but not maybe necessarily some other portions of their budget.
So the portions of the budget, so we do a transfer out of those offset salaries in general fund. So employees are paid on the general fund. But we do the transfer, so those does pay for salaries and taxes. Health insurance, things like that are general fund.
What did we plug in for wage increase?
There's 3% in here,
3%.
and I think we did. It was 3 or 5%. 3% last year. If you look at the road use tax expenditure piece, any town is going to be 0 to 1 is general fund. Anything that's like the transfer, you do like a offset expenditure, and that is you're taking the average road use tax.
That trailer that, for the mini, do we have a flatbed now that can haul it on?
Yes.
So what's the advantage to having it enclosed? Because it sits inside regardless, right?
The enclosed trailer is for the equipment when we.
No, it's not. Yeah.
So like if we're gonna go dig and do a valve or a fire hydrant or sewer repair, this is the other stuff. That we can put it in the trailer, we can have water main break or something like that, we can put it under the trailer and we can go. And we don't have to spend a half hour, 45 minutes locating all these pieces of equipment.
So it's not for the mini, it's for the equipment that goes inside.
It's for the other stuff that we use when we do that stuff. It's not for the. Because I have a flatbed that's down there that we haul them anyway, all the attachments, we built some racks, they're all part of that. So that's already a one hook and go.
Go ahead, John. Well, I'm just trying to vision all that. So it'd be, the trailer would be stocked with water main break.
Repair parts, or might have some pieces for shoring, pumps,
Sleeves,
yeah, whatever.
whatever you need to be there, so you don't have to
Yes.
run. Hey, we forgot something, go down there and go get it.
Right.
You have your tools and equipment in there.
Yeah, whatever tools that we might have for that will be in there.
So it's something that'd be being utilized, I don't want to say daily, but frequently.
Yes, yes, it'll be used.
We currently have them, it's just now that we're gonna be doing more digging, it's not quite big enough to do both water and sewer. Right now, we have it hooked up and ready to go for water only, which we have shoring in, we have our signs, we have Band-Aid, and there's some tools, there is no toolbox.
You carry a generator also?
We have a smaller generator, that can run one pump. Otherwise, we have a load one in the back of the truck.
But you could also, on really cold nights like this, you could also have like a little space heater or something that
We
you
already
could
have, we have one.
get in the trailer and warm yourself up in.
Yep, we have one for the trailer itself that runs off. So, when it's maybe 30 degrees, but it was 2 years ago, we want to. Doing more projects is gonna involve a bigger trailer, so all the equipment's there ready to go.
Mhm.
We still have a flatbed trailer that was purchased several years ago that was not utilized.
That's the one that's all.
That's now home. Took a while to get that to be used, didn't it?
How about that mower? You said $1,600 in parts to get going. Is that going down the road or getting upgraded or?
It's gonna get upgraded. Not hers, hers is already done, it'd be ours, it's gonna have the same gravel. We've already band-aided it to get us through.
Kind of getting off the expense part, but how many people have a CDL now? Well, so you can, I think that one trailer that was bought couldn't be pulled by anybody unless they had a, yeah,
There's three.
there's three.
I'll get mine by the end of next month.
Okay, cool.
So it's you two, and who's the third one?
Spencer.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Well, my apologies for not having much to ask. I guess I extended the.
Now
meeting
can I
by
go?
15 minutes. But it's good conversation, though, you know, we got a little deeper into some things.
You're gonna hear my stomach here in a minute.
I'm sure I'll talk right back to you. That's all I have. I don't want to cut anybody off or just end the meeting, be ending it. Next meeting, you mean Monday?
Okay.
For the public hearing. And that can happen at the public hearing, too, the public hearing. The public hearing will have the resolution will be set with each dollar amounts in it. So we can alter the resolution as well. That 2 years ago.
Mhm.
But then we'll have to have a harder conversation when we approve the budget. 2 weeks after that. I'll have a public hearing set. So this public hearing has to be complete. This levy has to be set before we can start the budget.
Well, we dropped the levy amount in comparison to the last few years, so hopefully next year we can continue to drop and make it more of a trend than an isolated incident.
Or this may take, I mean, it depends on inflation.
From what it looks like, we don't have a lot of major projects coming up.
Now, the only one probably for 2024 would be the debut wall at that point. FEMA meeting was yesterday afternoon. Things seem to be moving along. at
Mhm.
FEMA speed. So we'd
What-
like to have it done next year or maybe like now, but still debating. We'll have to do things.
Okay.
What's the, I guess, the plan with the police station? I know you're working there. What is that going out for bid or what's going on with that?
It'll go out for bid. They're working on demolition right now. And we'll go out for bid once that's complete.
Who's the architect?
So they have the specs ready to go out for bid.
Yep, we're ready. We had discussed doing it in January, so this month, but again, prices are a little unstable. So, yeah, if was confident that we would get a bid that would be acceptable. Since it is a essential public building, we do have options of changing our bid process, where we can break it into different parts. Since it's a police station. Other than putting there. We prefer to do it all at once and have it there.
Mhm.
And since it's all in one, it should not. weather contingent.
Nothing else? I
Okay.
adjourn this meeting. Thank you, everyone, for